if you want to improve your conversations, you're going to need a holistic change. And if you're someone that watches my videos, you'll know this by now. Any topic, when it comes to any kind of self-improvement at all, it's all about holistic inner change rather than outside in change, right? Change from the inside out. And I've said this about, defeating corn addiction, like truly changing your life and everything. It's all about changing self-image and changing what's inside, right? And the same thing applies to conversations. Stop watching those videos about, top 5 ways to improve your conversations, or like 5 things to do this, or whatever, or top 5 things to say to a girl so she'll like you, whatever it is. Like it doesn't work like that. Yeah, sure, you could do that, and you can get somewhere. You can get somewhere with some people, but really, first of all, it's not an authentic way to live your life, and second of all, like, it's just really not that effective. It's similar to like watching top 5 no-fap tips, right? Or top 5 tips to make yourself get up in the morning, or whatever, to get more motivation. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can do self-improvement for a long time, like on that. Like, I started that way. Like, I learned, actually I didn't. When I made like the true progress that I made when it came to like defeating porn addiction, becoming good at conversations, or making any kind of like serious change, it did come from when I had an inside out change. So now, when I'm speaking about conversations, right, what do I mean when I say an inside out change, right? Okay, so if there's one thing you have noticed, you would have noticed, I think if you've just observed in general, is that there are many different types of like riz, right? There are many different types of ways that like guys like attract women or whatever, right? It's like you get people that are like just defined as like charismatic, right? They're not handsome or anything like that, but the way they talk is just incredible. Then you get the guys who attract girls because they're purely just like handsome. Then you get the guys who attract because they're rich. Then you get the guys who attract because they have like a combination of those, or they've got status or whatever. Like, there are many different ways to skin a cat, right? Like, let's put it that way. Same thing applies to conversation, right? There are people who are very energetic, like they come into a conversation, like everywhere they are, like they raise their energy levels, but that's their thing. That's their thing, right? Like they do that and it works, and people love that about them. Some people love it, some people hate it, but the people that love them really love them. Then the people who are more quiet and they're more like, like more intellectual, like they'll have like deeper conversations with you and they connect with people that way. Or you get what I mean, right? Like, there are many different ways to skin a cat, right? So I think the first thing you do, I think when you are on self-improvement, I'm hoping the people that are watching these videos, I highly doubt it though, because I haven't been making like high quality self-improvement videos for that long, but I'd hope so. I'd hope that, some people are at a certain level of self-improvement where, like, the level I'm at now, where it's like, okay, I've been doing self-improvement for a couple of years now. I've been interested in it for a long time. But like, now I'm at a point where I want to make soaring change. Like, I want to make serious, like, life-changing change, right? And when you make that switch, again, the mentality switches from a small scale, like, little tips that I can use to do this and that, to truly holistic change that will take you far. It's sustainable, it's authentic, and it will really take you far, right? So I've spent this whole time going over this concept of inside out change. Why? Right? Okay, so what I would say is that, I've explained to you why. I've explained to you that that's how you really make like real change. So if you want to get good at conversations, first of all, like, again, it's all about like self-image. You need to pick your style. Like, pick your style. What kind of like person do you want to be? You can't be like chasing many different things, right? The person who chases 2 rabbits catches none, right? That's basic. And I did mention to you now up on how there are plenty of ways to skin a cat. Like, pick the one that feels most authentic to you, right? Now, I'm going to go through what I've learned from, I've been reading books, Robert Greene books, like psychology books, right? For me, I've gone down that route of like, like being, like, I don't mean it in like arrogant way or anything like that, but like, I feel like I'm more of like an intellectual person. Like, I like deeper conversation. Like, I'm vibey, but like, I prefer, like having deep conversations, getting to know people. I feel like that's more authentic to who I am, right? And from what the books I've been reading, I've read 48 Laws of Power. I've read like half of it. I've listened to summaries and stuff. I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I've read like The Art of Seduction. I feel like those are the 3 gold standard books. How to Win Friends and Influence People is by Dale Carnegie, not Robert Greene, but the other 2 are, right? And again, those 3 are, again, if I explain to you the books, like 48 Laws of Power, pretty self-explanatory. If you want to be powerful, or you want to like, especially if you're in corporate and you're trying to like play power games, that one applies there. How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you want to win friends and influence people, that's a book for that. And then The Art of Seduction, if you want to seduce people, like, or you just want to be like charming or whatever it is, right? But those 3 books, if there's one thing I've learned that they all have in common, is you need to listen. Like, listen to people. If honestly, if you could take one thing away from this video is, and it's difficult, it's a really difficult thing to learn. I've been trying to do this for a while, right? Because it's difficult, and that's one of the things that I mentioned in the art of seduction, is that the reason like a certain type of seducer is very seductive is that most people are self-absorbed. In fact, we're all self-absorbed. So when we come across a person that fully gives us attention, they only care about us, they make us feel good, it's addictive. It's addictive. It's seductive, right? And that's something. If you could take one thing away from this video, is that the next year, right? I heard about this. I don't know. I think it was from a Robert Greene book, where there was a story of this guy who something happened to him. He was in hospital. He couldn't speak for like months or a year, right? And he eventually got his voice back and everything. But like all of a sudden, like he just became this, because he had to spend that year just listening to people, right? And observing people, and he couldn't do anything else. He couldn't move or anything like that. All he could do was observe people. When he came out, like he started writing all these psychology books, and he just became like, I forgot like the end of the story, right? But I think basically like he was like very, very good at like dealing with people. Like he was a good people person, right? Like he was very good like seducer and everything like that. But like he learned all of this from just sitting back and observing people. So if you could do one thing for the next year, and it sounds easy, but it's difficult. It's flipping difficult, right? Every conversation you do, like you just listen to people. Even if you could, obviously you want to be social, so you want to be asking questions and being like involved, right? And the way you do that is like you ask people questions. But like even if you did nothing for the next year in terms of like social situations, other than just like you were like sort of invisible to everyone else, but you could just stand like a fly on the wall and just listen to conversations. You can't say anything. You simply listen and analyze people. Bro, you would get everything you wanted from like being, you could, like when it comes to power games, you can do that. You can make friends very easily. You can seduce people if you want. That's the main thing that I've learned from all three of these books have in common is listen, listen, listen. Don't speak, listen, 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 observe, gain information about people. And yeah, it can be used like negatively, but even from like a good point of view, like when I speak about like the seducing kind of thing, right? You picture that guy who like, okay, now this gets into like weird territory, because now, you know, you got like the red pill advice of like, oh, you know, don't go like, be the guy that listens to like your female best friend's problems. And that's a whole different story. But I mean, just in general, if you want to like be good with people, it's like listening to them just speak. Just listen to what they're speaking about. And yeah, that's the main thing I would say I've taken away from those three books. And yeah, and in 48 Laws of Power, as I've explained, like listening there, like it obviously works wonders, because you're able to gain like insight into people's like insecurities, you know, like what not to say to like tick them off. You know, you realize like, you know, what you can say to like flatter them, well, not flatter them, because flattery, according to 48 Laws of Power, you want to show appreciation, not flattery, because flattery has like the opposite effect. But that's a whole different thing. Don't worry about that. Right now we're just going surface level. We're going basic. It's not surface level, but it's basic, right? It's first step of just listening. That one is difficult. But yeah, you're just gaining insight into people. You're learning. You gain information. Like excuse me. The one thing that was said a lot in 48 Laws of Power is that information is how you get power. Like that's it. That's it. Knowing things. And how do you get information about people? You listen to them, right? That's how it works. And then in How to Win Friends and Influence People, again, you listen to people. As I mentioned about the one that's in Art of Seduction, is that we're all self-absorbed. So when you come to somebody who listens, like, bro, have you ever been around someone who like listens to you, gives you like attention, like they care about you, like someone just like remembers you, and you're so surprised. It just makes you feel like so good. And if you're someone that's able to give that to people all the time, you become addicted. Like, and that's how you make friends. Like you make friends. It's obviously that's how it's useful in that manner. And then when it comes to the Art of Seduction, I've spoken about it again plenty of times now. You seduce people by like making them feel like, oh, you know them, you care about them, like you know their struggles, and you provide like a relief for them, or whatever it is, right? I could actually go deeper into like one thing I've been listening to in the Art of Seduction is the charmer, right? Again, there are many different types of seducers, but like I said, you pick what's authentic to you. right? Like, who doesn't want to be charming, right? Like, I feel like that's authentic to me. So I've been learning a lot about like the charmer, and basically all the charmer is. I'll say all he is. There's a lot that goes into it, but basically, first of all, like any seducer, he listens. Like he listens for like you listen to people's problems, and you never whine about your own problems. You listen to their problems and you give them distraction from their problems through creating a mood of fun and pleasure. That's how charmers are, basically. They appeal to people's vanity and ego, right? Because everyone loves, like, we're all like vain and egotistical in our own ways, right? And even if you're not, it's when someone like flatters your ego in the right way, like, mind you, right? Like, you're not just going around like giving fake compliments and people can see right through it. That's why I say this is like, it's really deep, right? But if you, it needs to be done subtly, and that's where the listening part comes in, right? You listen to people, you gain an insight to what like the insecurities are, you know, what problems they've been having, what's like reoccurring, whatever. And then, you know, you first of all, you distract them from that through like a mood of like pleasure and fun, like you make them feel good. But also, once you learn more and more about them, like, you're able to like give compliments, or, you know, do certain things that just show them that, like, okay, you care about them, but also that boost like their ego or their self-esteem. Because who doesn't want to have their self-esteem boost? If you're boosted, if you're around somebody all the time that makes you feel better, like they boost your self-esteem, they make you feel like, oh, this is like, life is easier like when you're around them. Which was another one of the points I did take down, was that charmers, like, they make the other person feel like, oh, if they have you in their life, then everything will be easier. Like, who doesn't want to be around that person? Like, that's an incredible person to be around. Like, your life is just, it's nice. It's nice to be around them, right? And that's what the charmer is. Again, there's more and more that goes into it, but like I said, the first step is the most difficult one, honestly. Just learning to listen to people, right? It's just a difficult thing. We all want to like give our input and everything, but like, when you're around people, just learn to like ask questions, right? Ask questions about people, get them to like speak about themselves, and just listen attentively, like fully attentively. Stop like looking around, trying to like, people notice those little things, and those are part of the things. Like the charmer, I can guarantee you, a true charmer, like when he's speaking to somebody, like full attention, bro, like full attention, you feel it. You feel like they care about you. They're asking like questions that, you know, that let you know that like they're listening, right? And again, like all the other things that they do, like giving you compliments that like tailored to your insecurities or whatever it is, like things like that. Obviously, it can be used in like a negative way, but you know, it can also be used in a good way. Like I said, who doesn't want to be around like a charmer, right? But that's just, again, you can pick, go read The Art of Seduction. I haven't actually like physically read it. I've listened to audiobooks, and yeah, I just listen to these and I take notes. You can do whatever, same principle, as long as you're like applying it. But honestly, as I said, across the board, it's all about listening. Listen, right? So how do you improve your conversations? You ask questions, you get people to speak about themselves. And going to how to influence and influence people, another tip I learned, right? Obviously they said ask questions and get people to speak about themselves, but it's also speak about like topics the person is interested in, right? I know like a lot of us, the reason we struggle with like conversations, you'll have conversations with people, some people you just don't click with, other people you do click with, right? But I feel like the way you do, well, not I feel like, from what I'm learning, the way you become like somebody who's good at conversations is that what I've noticed I do, and I imagine most people do, is that when you're trying to speak to someone, you're trying to find common ground, you're trying to find topics you're both interested in. But that's where the difference comes in between people that are good at conversation and people that are not, right? Between the charmer and someone who's not charming, right? Is that, first of all, like I said, or I didn't say this, but in The Art of Seduction, one of the things Robert Greene said is that like every interaction is an opportunity for practice, right? When you're trying to like seduce someone, learn how to seduce someone, or charm someone, you don't just go to like the people you like and just try there. Like every conversation is an opportunity to charm someone, whether you're talking to the cleaning lady or you're speaking to, you know, like the girl you're trying to like date or whatever it is, right? It's like every conversation is an opportunity to practice. It's an opportunity to seduce someone. It's an opportunity to make a friend, right? And again, you do that through listening. And again, where I said where the charmer is separated from someone who's not charming is that we want to find common ground. Like I want to have a conversation with you where it's like, oh, I'm interested in this topic and you're also interested in the topic. And the difficulty comes there is that I'm going to start speaking about the topics I know because I don't know you, right? So I'm going to speak about my topics, right? And hey, that's hit and miss, bro. That really is hit and miss. And a lot of the time it's miss, right? Because yeah, that's just the way it is. Like there's so many interests in the world. Like when you start speaking about like your interests, it's very difficult, and you end up speaking about yourself and like people like that's not charming. It's very non-seductive. But the seducer, right, or someone who's charming or whatever it is, right? Again, it's like acting, which is another thing that Robert Greene said. Is like it's like acting. Like you're not, and this is where like the Robert Greene books kind of get, it can be like kind of unethical, but also like it's part of like learning how to be a good conversationalist. Like I said, every interaction is an opportunity to practice with anyone, right? Like just ask questions, like be interested in the person, right? So now conversations, it's not about me. I'm not trying to get there to make myself look good, because what are you trying to get out of this, right? If you're trying to be like someone who's a charmer and you're trying to be like that guy, right? If every conversation you're trying to be a charmer, then all of a sudden it's not about I want to speak about myself and I want to like do this and like have like the best conversation in terms of like enjoying myself. It's more of a I want to charm you, and how do I charm you? I ask questions about you. So now, when we're having a conversation, I'm not trying to find common ground between what I find interesting and what you find interesting. I am only interested in you. And how do I get information about you? Because I don't know anything about you. You ask questions, right? And they, as you do it more and more, like when you speak to a lot of people, there's sort of like, it's not a formula. Like I said, we're not doing this top 5 tips, whatever. It's an inside out thing where you just learn. Right, but they're basic questions you ask people when you don't know somebody. Like they're basic questions you ask. Hi, or like, what's your name? Maybe what do you do? If you can find like situation-specific conversations, then those are good, right? Like if you're like at like some event or whatever, something special, whatever it is, and you ask them like why are they here, or how did they get here, who do they know that put them here, something like that. But in general, like there's some questions that you just notice across the board you're gonna have to ask because you don't know anything about the person. But again, every conversation, like the dynamic changes. It's not about you at all. And that's another thing that Robert Greene said about the charmer, right? The charmer fades in the background. It's not about him. The person, his target, and this is another thing I'm saying about Robert Greene books, like take them with a pinch of salt, like they're quite unethical, but it's like his target, right? Your target. But anyways, the charmer's target becomes the center of attention. That person. And like I said, humans, we are so self-absorbed. So when someone comes to you and they make you the star of the show, boy, does that feel good, and everyone knows that feels good, right? But you need to be, in order to be able to do that, you need to fade away completely. And if you're able to make people feel like that, again, they'll be addicted to you. But again, like I said, the dynamic changes. It's not about you, it's about them. But yeah, that's what I learned about like the charmer. I feel like that's what applies to me the most. It feels the most authentic for me anyways. And then yeah, there's just other tips, other like small tips if you just want like just improvements from how to win friends and influence people. First one he said was like just say people's names. As I mentioned, people are self-absorbed. We are all self-absorbed. So apparently they've done studies, and the most beautiful sound to any person is the sound of their name. So that's just a cool thing to know. Like just say people's names. Another one I've learned is show appreciation. Like honestly, like, and this is one of those things where it's not even like it's easy to do. Right? If someone does something good for you, if someone does something you appreciate, like let them know. Like I really appreciate that you've done this for me. Like you didn't have to do it, but you went out and you did it. Like I really appreciate this. Like that's a good step you can just start off with. Again, if you want to start getting manipulative and you take it further, like you can, when someone tries, again, even if you don't really appreciate it, but you see that you've seen an opportunity to show appreciation to someone, you just do it because it makes them feel good, right? That's another thing I've learned. And then yeah, the other two are smile. There's a smile, like who doesn't want to be around someone that smiles, and then give compliments. Again, the same thing with showing appreciation. Any opportunity you have to give someone a compliment, give it. Right? If you see someone and you're like, oh, like they've got a new hairstyle and you quite like it, just be like, oh, I like the hairstyle. Or again, even if you don't, just be like, you've noticed that they've changed something, they're trying something, and you make them feel good about it. Yeah. I've been kind of like all over the place with this video, but like I hope you understand like what I'm trying to say, and this is the theme in all my videos. Inside out change, not outside in. But yeah, these are like the main things. But if you are to take one thing away from this video, is just listen to people. It'll get you really far. And ask questions about people, listen to them, and yeah, just show interest in them, right? And when you listen to them and you show interest, you know what topics they're interested in, and you keep speaking about those, because it's not about you, it's about them. You're making them the star of the show. Yeah, but you guys let me know what you think of the topic in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self Improvement Brotherhood, and until next time, see you boys.